Hi everyone, welcome to Camille's Holistic Health Show. I'm Dr. Camille, and I'm here to talk to you about an integrative approach to IBS for women who suffer with irritable bowel syndrome. And if you want to know a little more about it in detail, I have another video called Integrative Approach to Irritable Bowel Syndrome that I go into it in more detail. So today we're going to dive deep into a little bit about irritable bowel syndrome. And if you want to hear more of these videos, hit that bell and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So every time a new video comes out, you will be notified. So what is irritable bowel syndrome? Irritable bowel syndrome is really a syndrome. And a lot of integrative doctors, conventional doctors don't really know the reasons why irritable bowel syndrome really occurs. It is a mystery. And it is basically located in mainly the colon area. And that is a very sensitive area. It's usually inflamed. And it's usually due to what they suspect is due to stress or some kind of chemical compound that is invading the colon, whether it be infections or whatnot. But we'll go into it in more detail. So, irritable bowel syndrome really affects a lot of women. It affects men too, but mainly a lot of women. And it is a very, again, vague diagnosis that usually you get from your conventional doctor. And it being a syndrome is that you have so many different symptoms that could actually be related to other things. So, it is sometimes related to constipation, diarrhea, or a bit of both. There's gas, there is bloating, there are a lot of different symptoms, but mainly diarrhea and constipation. And we'll go into a little bit about more of an integrative approach to uh, your uh, irritable bowel syndromes and what you can really do to combat a lot of the problems that you're having now. So a lot of people, like I said, suffer with diarrhea, constipation, and usually these symptoms often occur with pain or abdominal pain. And this pain usually many conventional doctors would diagnose it as abdominal pain uh, occurring for about at least a year or 12 months and usually generalized that way. Sometimes uh, the abdominal pain is related to either stress or some kind of food component related to your IBS. Okay, so that is another uh, detail, a very, very important detail, especially if you have been suffering with these kind of symptoms and you want to get, I wouldn't say a proper diagnosis, but if you go to your conventional doctor and and you feel that you need to go to your conventional doctor, then that is another symptom related to IBS's abdominal pain. Now let's go into a little bit about the foods that trigger those that suffer with IBS. And the foods are very, very could be from a wide variety or just a few. And what I recommend is that you chart or you write down, or you take notice of the different foods that really affect you around certain times of your life, whether it be stress, whether it be a season, or whether it be a, a condition that you're having, either food poisoning or different types of invasions occurring in the digestive system, whether it be bacteria or virus. Okay, so one main food is coffee. And I know there are a lot of coffee lovers out there. I know my husband to be a coffee lover, and it triggers IBS. Why? Because many times coffee can tend to cause constipation, or it can actually cause diarrhea, depending on your digestive system and how your body deals with abdominal foods and drinks. So take a note of when you drink coffee, and if it's something that really triggers your IBS symptoms, well, it's definitely something to avoid, because many people that suffer with IBS usually have problems drinking coffee. And it's probably due to, again, coffee does have different enzymes in it, and it usually triggers one of the enzymes will trigger your IBS. Then we have yogurt. Well, yogurt with dairy, and dairy sufferers, people who cannot digest dairy very well, a good recommendation would be to use a digestive enzyme to help you digest your foods a little better. So other alternatives to yogurt or dairy related products with yogurt is almond yogurt, because they have that now, and coconut yogurt. So those are definitely alternatives that have a lot of benefits, like a probiotic does. That's another recommendation I do recommend for those that suffer with IBS, is a probiotic, also kimchi, and uh, kombucha. Those are very, very good alternatives to yogurt if you really cannot tolerate yogurt. And then there's alcohol. Well, drinking coffee in the morning, people love, keeps them alert, and drinking alcohol at night, well, people love it because it gives them a more of a relaxing feeling. But again, alcohol does tend to affect the bowel movements, whether it's usually constipation, and it's recommended that people who have IBS avoid alcohol. But then again, there are alternatives to drinking alcohol. There are many, many varieties of non-alcoholic beverages. I have linked a page there that you can take a look at if you are considering non-alcoholic beverages for your irritable bowel syndrome. Next is vitamins. Why? Because a lot of the vitamins can actually have different ways of affecting the body. Some vitamins actually soothe symptoms of IBS, and others aggravate it. Okay, so a lot of the vitamins on the over the counter today actually are very synthetic, or are made in a lab, that actually can trigger a lot of your IBS symptoms. What I recommend is that you source your vitamins very well by getting at least a natural source of vitamin, that it contains a lot of whole foods. So look into that because it's very, very beneficial for those with IBS. And we run to fruits and vegetables because we think that it has a lot of fiber benefits. However, when you have irritable bowel syndrome or irritable bowel syndrome, this can really affect you if you're not sure about the fruits and vegetables that you're eating. Some fruits and vegetables can actually cause and trigger some of the components or symptoms related to your IBS. So it's always recommended to cook your foods very well and take a look at the types of foods that you're eating that actually cause these triggers, these IBS triggers. So a food map diet is always recommended as well. And I have linked a very good resource to those foods that actually are beneficial and the foods that can actually trigger your IBS symptoms in the comments below. So soluble fiber. Some people, it's a negative to take soluble fiber, even in related to a supplement. However, it's always really recommended to avoid foods related to oat bran, nuts and seeds. Take a look at some of the nuts and seeds because they can aggravate your IBS and some can help. Again, it's always recommended for you to write that down. See what's your what aggravates you and what soothes your digestive system. Okay, so beans, lentil, peas, and some fruits and vegetables can actually cause problems. So even though these are soluble fibers, again, it can actually trigger your IBS symptoms. Now, if you have more of a faster movements or diarrhea, it's recommended that you eat more apples, oranges, peas, blueberries, strawberries. Now, if you're having the opposite and you have slower movements or slower bowel movements or constipation, it's always recommended to eat leafy greens, broccoli, zucchini, and cabbage. Now, take a look at cabbage too because it can also trigger IBS symptoms. Some people can consume it and some can't. But remember, it's an individualized approach. I always take, these are just foods that you can really, I recommend, but however, it may trigger your IBS symptoms and it may not. So just something to think about. And then there's soda. We love soda because it has a nice bubbly effect. A lot of people love that taste in their mouth. But there are other alternatives to soda. Soda has a tendency to cause a lot of bloating, a lot of gas, and a lot of upset stomach if you have irritable bowel syndrome. So a good recommendation is mineral spring water. It always, uh, it, it's pure, it's pure water, but it has a carbonated taste to it, which is something people often love rather than drinking regular water, but it also has a flavor to it. So add a flavor to your lemon is a great one. Watermelon is another. Strawberry, blueberry, they come in different flavors that you can buy off the shelf. Okay, so again, those are the foods to avoid if you have IBS. Coffee, yogurt, dairy, yogurt, alcohol, some vitamins, avoiding certain fruits and vegetables, soluble fiber, and soda. Now, some of the main triggers, and we all know one of them, right? It's stress. But it's really hard to say stress causes my irritable bowel syndrome. And again, if you are stressed, it is easier to say than to do, as we all know that. But it's always important to know uh, when it's coming or when it's arising, so you will understand how to combat it before your stress levels go up and you have more irritable bowel symptoms. So again, take a note, write these things down, and know your weaknesses, know your stress levels, know when these symptoms can arise before you, so you can combat your stress. Another trigger for irritable bowel syndrome is hormonal imbalance, and especially why? Because women suffer with hormonal imbalance, and they also suffer with IBS. We have a lot of hormones related uh, to our digestive system right in there. So it affects stress, it affects our entire body. So when this goes haywire, especially during menopause or our menstrual cycle, a lot of our IBS symptoms can occur. So hormones is another trigger. And again, food as well. Beverages, like I had mentioned, dairy, carbonated drinks, and some fruits and vegetables. So it's always important to know what triggers. You have to ask yourself that. What is triggering my IBS symptoms? And the integrative approach is really honing on all what I had mentioned, including food, including being self-aware and being mindful techniques, being able to combat your stress at certain times, and using breathing exercises and visual exercises as well to release a lot of the tension in the digestive system, because that's what IBS is related to. Stress, being unaware of your stressful situation, and it turning into a snowball effect. If you can be more self-aware and more mindful of when it's occurring and how it's occurring and where it's occurring, whether it be in your digestive system, whether it be in your neck, in your jaw area, or in your frown, your eyebrow area, or your frowned area, or your eyes, or your teeth, exactly where you clench and hold all your tension. That's where you will be more mindful and be more aware of what's going on to help combat your irritable bowel syndrome. So I really hope you took a little bit of this video. Again, I mentioned the next video that I did on irritable bowel syndrome. I suggest that you go ahead and take a look at that video as well. So if you have any comments, if you have any questions, please go ahead and write them in the comment box, and I will get them as soon as I can. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye now.